Welcome.
Yeah, so this is not the way that we envisioned restarting this. We'd had discussions at the Whitney and at Grace Street about what we were gonna do and how we were gonna kick this back off. And I ordered some really cool mics and was super pumped to get this back up and going. But things went downhill fast, and here we are.
Yeah.
So welcome to this segment we call Uncut Talks, featuring your two favorite, or not favorite, I don't know, your choices, vaguely looking adults who talk about vaguely adult things. And I guess these topics are pretty adult these days. But before anything gets going, preface might be a little political, might be opinionated, etc., etc. So
There no might be if they've met any of us, which are the only people watching this are people who know us. So
100%, yeah.
we are very opinionated people. So this is going to be full of opinions that might not sit well with some people, might sit very well with other people. But honestly, who gives a hoot?
And honestly, everyone's just sitting these days because that's all we can do.
Yep.
But yeah, this we wanted to kick things off and kind of talk about how this time, before we talk about what this time is, how this time has been a bit of conversation starters for people who always wanted to start projects and have only talked about it but haven't actually done it. And guess who has all the time in the world now?
Who?
Us.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah. No. This time is hectic. We're all stuck at home. Or we should be all stuck at home. Doesn't mean everyone is following the freaking rules. But not to point any fingers, ladies who sit outside my building chilling. They literally just pull up chairs and sit outside, and they're like, I don't know what the big deal is. And they're all just hanging out and chit-chatting. And I'm like, señoras, please, go home. But whatever. Por favor. But
I literally ended that sentence in another language in my head that wasn't English.
But I was talking to my mom the other day, and she was just cracking up because she was like, right before we went into self-isolation and all that stuff, social distancing, she's like, the weather was really nice. It was warm outside. And she's like, ever since we were told to stay inside, it's like Mother Nature is doing her part to try to push people by making it cold, making it rain. It's snowing in a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, if Mother Nature is slapping you in the face and telling you to go the hell inside, why are you not going the hell inside? Anyway, that's my mom's take on this, which I agree. But also the weather's controlled by the government. But that's another video.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a Spy Kid simulation. We know this. Anyways. But yeah, now that everyone has so much time, I think that there's been a lot of pressure for people to I've been seeing a lot on social media, you have so much time now, write that book, start that podcast. Do that thing that you've always been thinking of doing. And whilst that can be true for a handful of people, another thing to consider is that it's also a very anxiety-filled time. People don't have the energy to do those things, and that is also really okay. And people shouldn't be going out of their way. People shouldn't be going anywhere. But they shouldn't feel as though they need to do all those things. It's completely fine to just chill and sit with your thoughts and be like, what?
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
I mean, starting anything at any time is really hard. A lot of people talk about, oh, I want to do this, or I want to do that. Myself included. For a long time, I was like, I want to start this series of short stories that I want to write. And then I was like, oh, I want to write these other stories. But they're all just ideas that I'm throwing out, hoping that the universe will somehow keep me accountable for doing these things. But you actually have to sit down and be in the mindset to do something like that. You can't just sit and be like, all right, today I'm going to write a book, because that
Mhm.
sadly is not how it works. Like, I've tried, it doesn't work.
Man.
And same thing with this podcast. Like, we spent days talking, like physically talking it out. We've also spent days just like chatting with each other, like, hey, what if we do this? Hey, what if we do that? We
Mhm.
went to meet and we spent an entire day being like, we're gonna film, and ended up just gossiping and talking about what the podcast, what the show could be, instead of actually sitting down to do it. Because it's so much easier to talk about what you want to do than actually sitting down, doing it, and either failing at it or not being able to like actually commit to doing something. And I think that's one of the biggest things that stops people from doing what they want to do. It's like this very hidden fear of failing at this thing that they have this passion for, you know?
Yeah. It's like it's right there at the tip of your tongue, and you really want to just go for it, but you're afraid of like potential backlash if people don't like the things that you're talking about, which is already, something that we would have to deal with because again, we just say a lot of things that are on our minds. Wondering, is anyone else going to be looking at this except for like the 3 people that we know, like it's terrifying, but also like invigorating at the same time because it's putting yourself out there and trying something new for the first time, or for us, for like the 5th first time, But
And settings always change for us, and now it's in the comfort of our own bedrooms. Um, I don't know. It's just, I commend people who start things on their own. Like, at least we have each other to like hold each other accountable.
yeah,
And by each other, I mean you like messaging me like, hey, we got to do this thing. Like, stop. And I'm like, okay, I'll do the
yeah,
thing, I guess. But like, I have a friend, and like, shameless plug. She's amazing. Her name is Shelby. I work with her, and she's been trying to start a podcast of her own for like a while. And she made an episode like a long time ago, and then she stopped because like her life got a little crazy.
mhm,
But then she gave herself a schedule. She was like, I will post an episode by this day. It will be on like Spotify. It will be on Apple Music. And I am a bad friend. I don't remember what it's called. I want to say it's something like Homebody Meets Universe
yeah,
or something like that. But like, there will be a shameless plug-in somewhere. And she's amazing. Like, she literally just sits down and talks about like what her life is, and like anxiety, and basically the things we're doing now, but like she does it on her own. And
mhm.
like, that's such a big thing to like just sit there and just by yourself have like a conversation, basically.
I already
Um,
talk to myself so much, like up here, like I feel like it might be a bit redundant. I don't know. But, with the amount of time that we have on our hands now, here we are.
but then like, that's also the thing. Like, I'm stuck at home. Like, I'm sick. So, well, I have a cold. Let me clarify. I have a
Yes,
cold.
yes. Very important.
Class important. I have a
And it's
cold. No
allergy
worries.
season. So,
Yeah, it's allergy season, flu season. I'm allergic to my dog and my cat, and because I'm at work 5 days a week, it usually doesn't hit me this hard because I'm not
mhm.
with them a lot. But now that I've like been at home on top of getting this cold, I've like, my allergies have gone through the roof because like I'm with my dog all the time, or my cat is running around, and like no amount of allergy medicine makes me feel like a-okay.
Yeah.
So it's been kind of rough. So I've been trying not to leave. I haven't left my house. Like, the only time I left was before I got sick, which was like Monday, I want to say, which was, what's that, like, wow, like a week ago?
It was a week ago because today's Monday. I had to look at it. But it really feels like that time between Christmas and New Year's where no one knows what day it is or like what hour it is, and everyone's just kind of like floating and existing.
Yeah. And so the mindset I'm at, like, I have some crazy cabin fever. Like, I'm used to not being home 5 days a week minimum because I'm at work.
Mhm.
And I, like, for me, my setting of where I like to write is on the train. Like, I've had this conversation with other people where they're like, because my commute to work is really long. It's like an hour and a half on like a bad day, an hour on a good day. On a really good day, it takes me like 50 minutes maybe, but it's still like a pretty long commute to just be
Yeah.
sitting on the train. And so like I've had this conversation with one of my other coworkers who lives near me, so our commute is the same. And it makes him anxious that he has to sit in the train for like an hour at a time, like with nothing to do. Like he'd rather just be home and like, like he wish he had a shorter commute. And like
Mhm.
while I understand the anxiety of having, not anxiety, but like the stress of having such a long commute, I take that time for myself. Cause like I still live at home with my mom and my sister, and it's a pretty small apartment, so I don't have much privacy. And
Yeah.
like at work, I work, my job is literally interacting with people all day. And so I don't have any privacy at work either. So like that 1 hour on the train, even though I'm surrounded by people, is like my moment to myself. Like
Mhm.
I'm literally sitting there, I open my Google Docs and I'm just working on my stories, or I'm listening to a new podcast that someone told me about, or I'm watching a show that someone told me about. But mostly I like to use it for writing or outlining or editing or studying for my apprenticeship. And so like that time for me is important. And so now that I've been at home, I don't, that like 1 hour of my routine, well, 2 hours, one to go and one to come back, has
Yeah.
been like taken away from me. So now I'm at home. And while I was like, well, I'm going to have all this time to study, and I just can't, I have cabin fever. So I can't, like, my mind is scattered every time I sit down to write. Either my mom will come into the living room, or my sister will come in, or I have to make lunch, or I have to make dinner, or I'm like, my dog is scratching her ear weirdly, and I'm like, there's so many distractions in this like small space that I haven't actually found time to just do anything. Like I found myself multitasking a lot, like being like, oh, let me spend some time with my mom watching a show and also trying to edit this thing. But then I get distracted by the show, or I get distracted by editing, and it's a hard time, I feel like. And I'm also so scared. Like when my mom was the first one to get sick. So when she got sick, obviously the panic is like, what if it's corona?
Mhm.
Um, and like my mom isn't old, but she's older. Like she's a
Yeah.
mom. So
Yeah.
like the worry is there that like if she gets something, like she could get really sick. And so instead of concentrating on like, oh, let me like write this paper, or oh, let me write this story, I'm like, oh, let me take my mom's temperature. Or like, okay, like I'm writing this thing, but now all of a sudden I'm like, did I give my mom her medicine this morning? Like, did she take her Theraflu? Did she
Mhm.
eat yet? And so like it's very anxiety filled, and we all have older people in our lives. Like we all have grandparents. Like my grandparents don't live near me. My maternal grandparents, they live in Ecuador. Like the toll was climbing over there also, and my grandparents are older, and so like it was a scary time being like, are they gonna get sick? And it's just them two over there. So it's just like if something does happen to them, like I can't even go check on them or go make sure they're okay.
I apologize for the interruption.
Oh, good.
Um, cool. All right. Yeah, the thing, like, with being a family member that lives abroad, I've come to realize it's pretty hard because, like, I have a friend who had one of their grandparents literally pass away in the last couple of days, not because of the virus or anything. It was like natural causes. They went peacefully in their sleep, but their grandparents live on the other side of the world. And during these times, like, her parents can't fly over and like organize the funeral and like can't be there. And like they can't even have many people organizing the funeral. It's like limited to like maybe 10 people or something like that because of the severity of what's going on. And hearing that, like, it's always hard to lose a family member, especially like a grandparent and whatever. But everything is just a little more heightened during these times because like we're so used to going out about our days and just being like pretty much carefree and knowing that all these services and things are always available, and suddenly it's not, or it's incredibly limited. And it's just kind of heartbreaking to like, you know, thinking about not being able to go to your own grandparents' like funeral. At least for me, like something that's really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of sucks, but, everyone's doing their part. Everyone who is abiding by the rules is doing a great job for the most part. The people that are trying their best, kudos, because that's all we really can do during these times. And although it's sad, on the brighter note of things, what have you been doing to try to pass the time? Like you've said, you've been writing and, trying to multitask and stuff like that, but, things to keep preoccupied. What are you coming out as at the end of this quarantine?
Oh, chef. I've learned that I have cooking skills that I had no idea existed. I guess it's my ancestors' powers finally flowing through my veins, being like, this is how you make rice. This is how you this is how you make this is how you grill some chicken. Here are some huevos rancheros, even though I'm not Mexican. They were bomb. All right.
Listen, I believe.
Those jalapenos I've had for a bit. Finally got to use them. Solid. I've literally been making lunch and dinner every single day since this happened. It's been a week and a couple days.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been making food, and even my dad was surprised. My dad and I, we don't talk very often because we don't live with each other.
Mm-hmm.
But he's been messaging me more often, hey, how are you feeling? Hey, how's your mom feeling? If you guys need anything, don't go out, let me know.
Yeah.
I got masks, I got gloves, I got alcohol in a spray bottle. He's ready. Yeah, he is ready. He's I'll go out, I'll get whatever you need, and I'll drop it off in your home. That way you don't have to go anywhere, which is really sweet. But then he's also putting himself in danger. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
dude, it's fine. We stuff, we have stuff. Don't worry about it. But it's just I forgot what my point was to mentioning my father. Oh, I remember now. He was he's what are you doing? And every time he texts or calls, I'm oh, I'm making lunch, or oh, I'm making dinner, or doing the dishes. And every time he's you know how to cook? And I'm apparently.
Yeah.
So that's a thing. I've somehow become the mother of my house, which it gives me routine. Routine for me is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I wake up. Sorry, wow, that was loud.
Yeah.
I wake up. I wash my face, brush my teeth, do what I gotta do. I rebraid my hair because I've been living in these braids for a couple days now. And by a couple days, I mean since this quarantine started, because otherwise my hair would be
Yeah.
So wake up, redo my braids, shower, do what I gotta do, go to the kitchen, do whatever dishes were left over from the night from dinner before. Oh my god. I'm sorry. I usually get messages. I don't know
Yeah,
why
I
it's so
normally don't
loud.
get calls.
And then I'm okay, I make food. I wake up my sister. I make my mom her coffee. And I'm all right, this is it. This is
Let's
my
get
routine.
going.
I sit down, I eat. And it also helps my mom and my sister because my sister she's the kind of person that will sleep all day if you let her.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that I wake up and I'm all right, here's lunch or here's breakfast, and she wakes up begrudgingly, but she'll wake up and she'll eat. And it's funny because I've gotten them accustomed to this routine.
Mm-hmm.
So when I go back to work, it's gonna be hilarious. But the other day, I woke up late because I wasn't feeling well, so I didn't make breakfast. And so my sister woke up at she came out of her room at 1, and she just looked at me. She's where the hell was my breakfast this morning? And I started dying of laughter because a couple days before, she's why do you keep waking me up to give me food? And then she was now I'm used to it. Why didn't you make me breakfast? And
Yeah.
it's just, it's funny.
My routine hasn't changed that much because I was in and out of work for a bit, and now I'm just properly unemployed. But my routine is just I wake up early for no particular reason other than just keeping a schedule. So I think I wake up anytime between 8:15 to well, these days a bit closer to 9:30, and then I just kind of lay around for a while and maybe get out of bed at 9:50-ish. But like, you know, that window, normally I've already been up, eaten breakfast, worked out, showered, whatever, by like 11. Like that part hasn't changed. But I feel like now everything I do after that is just so stretched out. Like, I don't remember being this bored or like needing so much like extra things going on. Like, I fished out my brother's old like DS, and I started playing Super Mario World again, and I'm already on World 4. I started like the other day. So I think it's just trying to keep as occupied as I can to distract myself, because not gonna lie, like being super connected now is like super crucial. Like, it helps people who are super lonely and like, you know, they can't go out and like hang out with their friends. So I'm really grateful for the internet and like FaceTime, Skype, etc. for that. But at the same time, when you are online all the time and you're like scrolling through Twitter, Instagram, whatever, and you keep seeing news about developing stories, and like, as much as it is important to stay up to date on like what's going on, there's also like a threshold of how much someone can take, you know? And I think it's very easy to like not have a balance there. So I think that's why I've moved like off of what the internet would be and like be playing on like a DS or something, or like reading a book or stuff like that. But yeah. Oh, I'm playing ukulele because I'm so grateful that we'd picked up that ukulele a couple of months back and that we were hanging out like weekly when the year started, because who would have known?
You know, I think about that a lot, and I joked a lot about how us hanging out on a weekly basis, like our group, knowing how crazy our schedules usually are.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, can't wait to not see you guys for like 4 months after this. I called it. I just want to say I called it.
No, 100%,
I just
you did.
didn't think it was going to be a global see you in 4 months. I thought it But here we are. So,
listen, I'm glad to still be here. And I think that's the important part. I also think it's important to like have updates like this, or like keep journaling, or like doing something to track what's going on now, because being a 20-something-year-old during these times is being anyone during these times is super, super weird. But like literally being in like some crucial developmental parts of your life is just, I hope we all have just like agreed that after we all come out of this, we're going to be super weird. Like, everyone's going to be super weird and just kind of like strange. Because like, what is social interaction anymore? I only know how to deal with people through a computer screen.
And even then, I had a call with one of my managers this morning, and I, for a little bit, just kind of stared at him for like 2 seconds and was like, before I realized I should say words.
Yeah, because like now you can't even be like, oh, gotta cut the meeting short, gotta run. Where are you running? To your kitchen? There's nowhere to go.
There's nowhere.
Oh, man.
Yeah. In conclusion, we can work from home. It's possible. The government
we don't need CEOs. Just say. We
the
don't
government
need them.
implement bills to help us. We can help the homeless. Apparently, we have the budget for it, even though they say we don't.
But we could also cancel student debt.
Yeah.
We could make healthcare universal. We could do all these things. And the government just has that power.
Yeah, and furthermore, this quarantine is basically just a way for the government to switch the batteries on all those pigeons. So
that's the next video. Like, the weather, the pigeons, the one guy on the side corner that you always see. Yeah. Anyways, other topic, another time. We'll keep you posted. Anyway, yeah, in conclusion, I hope everyone stays as safe as they can. All three people that are watching this, we thank you. We're going to try our best to keep this going, because this is still a project that we both believe in. And through these times, maybe we'll have shorter conversations, because I did expect this to only be 12 to 15 minutes, but here we are. But yeah. I
You
mean,
know this is 12
yeah, this
minutes
is
without.
us.
But yeah, in actual conclusion, start the projects you want to start. But don't feel like you have to do anything in this time because everyone is on their own timeline. Not everyone has to do things. It's totally fine to just isolate yourself and just be with your own thoughts. That's totally cool too. Like everyone just needs to do their own thing.
Also, play tic-tac-toe again. It's a fun game to play by yourself. I mean, not that. Anyway, yeah, stay safe, wash your hands, use hand sanitizer sparingly, because washing your hands is always the best thing.
Moisturize. My skin is so
Oh my
dry.
god, it's ridiculous. I literally feel like I'm leather just aging, you know? But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Keep safe, stay hydrated, take your vitamins, do all the things. And we'll catch you guys soon.